Right guys, before we get into the video, I just want to say a big thanks to the 9,900 of you who subscribed last month. That is an epic amount of new subscribers and I cannot thank you enough for it. We are getting close now to 150k, which is something I never thought would happen. So thank you all very much for that. But today we have a rather funny video, because it seems recently someone has done some great research on old fish lips sturgeon, her husband and the SNP in general, pulling up 100 scandals involving the SNP, with many involving those right at the top, which is always going to be funny and not surprising to most of you, I'm sure. We all know that old fish lips is generally up to no good. We have covered it many times, and as politicians go, Nicola is certainly down there with the lowest of the low. I mean, anyone who claims to want independence while begging to be the vassal state of Europe has to be a bunch of tosspots at the best of times. A bit like Theresa May with Brexit and independence in name only. Now, since there is actually 100 of these scandals listed, I likely won't be able to go through all of them, as we will be here all day, but I will go through some of the best ones quickly. Hopefully someone does one about the Tories and Labour also, so I can cover them, because I am sure they will be just as depraved as these ones. The research was done by someone called Effie Deans on Twitter, and they also have a blog here, which I will link both down in the description. It comes in two parts, so we will quickly go through the best of both. Its headline is The SNP Hall of Shame. The other day, when Margaret Ferrier travelled up and down the country as if she had the intention of going down in history as COVID Maggie, I began thinking about scandals involving SNP politicians. How many have there been? I've lost count. You are certainly not the only one. And then we have a whole list here, which I will just read through some of them. You can either pause the video and look through them yourselves, or you can click the link down below in the description like I said, and read it for yourself. Number one, and something I have covered personally on the channel, is Derek Mackay sending text messages to a 16-year-old boy telling him he was really cute. Which, let's be honest, doesn't really surprise me for politicians or those in the media, as you all know. Number two was Mari Black bringing a drag queen called Flowjob to a primary school, because obviously that's a normal thing to do in 2020 if you're the SNP, but is absolutely fucking disgusting to anyone else around the country. Number three, we have Derek Mackay spending 230 million on ferries that were not built, so that's 230 million of our money just being wanked down the toilet. We have number five, John Swinney being responsible for teaching primary school children about anal sex, rimming and pornography. What the actual hell is that? I have never seen it before, but it's definitely some sick fucking shit. Number 9. SNP MPs Chris Law, Ian Blackford and Brendan O'Hara had expenses claims totalling £760,000 from the UK Parliament. They were the three with the highest claims out of all MPs, which is also something I actually covered at the time and pulled Ian Blackford up on, the dirty tosspot for stealing all our money while apparently hating our guts. Number 10 is also Ian Blackford, who made a 600-mile trip to Skye while complaining about Dominic Cummings making a trip to Durham, something I have also pointed out before. Number 11, Scottish businesses complain that they don't get as much in furlough as colleagues in other parts of the UK, because apparently the SNP have been withholding money that was given to them by the UK government. This doesn't surprise me in the slightest if it's true. Number 13, proportionally more elderly Scots died in care homes than anywhere else in the UK due to SNP incompetence. Well, we kinda know that is a given with them. Number 14, students were unnecessarily sent back to campuses across Scotland, leading to an increase in COVID cases, plus students being imprisoned in their hall of residence. Well, I don't agree with unnecessarily. They should all be sent back. Everyone should be going back to the world as it was, and anyone who might be at risk of this should be protected by the government, the way things have always been done before. But I 100% agree that students should not be imprisoned in their hall of residence. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that is illegal, or at least it used to be. Number 15, Mark John Kerr, SNP member of North Lanarkshire Council, was charged with sexual abuse. Once again, disgraceful, but not really surprising in my opinion, given we know what political parties and those in power are actually like, or at least reports of it. Number 17, Peter Murrell, who is the chief executive of the SNP and also Fish Lip's husband, apparently knows nothing about what the leader of of the SNP says or does, or what goes on in his own house. This is in relation to claims by her husband that he never asked what crunch meetings with Alex Salmond were about in relation to his sexual assault cases. In at number 18 we have SNP claiming that the EU left a light on for Scotland, but as I covered at the time, it was actually an SNP paid for stunt that the EU knew nothing about. We have number 19, Linda Fabini, SNP, MSP, telling Linda Evans, "I'm afraid that I am becoming uncomfortable with questions and answers at the Salmond inquiry. Oh, I wonder why that is." Number 20, SNP spent 9 million on laptops for needy school children, but didn't give them out. No, you mean the taxpayer spent 9 million on these laptops and the school children never got them. I wonder where the 9 million went. Number 22, the SNP had plans to suspend jury trials during COVID until an outcry made them change their minds, which would have obviously meant any spicy boys like Tailed Feature or Count Dankula would have been deep in the shit up there. Straight to the gulag with you, do not pass go, do not collect £200. That would have been the way of it, I am sure. Number 25, we have Angus Robertson looking forward to the death of elderly no voters. Not a good look. When the SNP are responsible for care homes, it's not really a good look for anyone at any time. You don't sit there wishing death on people at the end of the day, especially ones you don't agree with politically. Number 30, we have John Mason compared IRA members to ANC freedom fighters. And number 31, John Mason refuses to represent unionists because he's a bit of a cunt. Number 32, Alan Smith, SNP MP, tells people they are on an SNP naughty step database because obviously when they get independence you will be thrown in the gulag. That is what that database is blatantly there for, if you ask me. And then at number 33, we have Alex Wilson, SNP councillor that got together with his wife when he was 20 and she was just 13, which makes me think, what the actual fuck? But apparently, it's even worse than that, because not only did he get with this woman when she was 13 years old, or should I say girl, but he then 30 years later decided to leave her for someone else ditching his kids as well, proving he's a bit of a cunt. And since she was 13 at the time, surely it makes him also a dirty nonce cunt in the eyes of the law. Number 34 and 35 both involve Angus McNeil, who charged the taxpayer for the cost of his hotel when he was entertaining his missus. What that actually means is when he was giving her a bit of the pork sword. And number 35 was the same guy, Angus McNeil, having a free in a bed sex session with 17 and 18-year-old girls. Because Angus McNeil, it would appear, is a bit of a depraved sexual deviant. And obviously, after skipping over a couple, we have number 46, which is Alex Salmond's accusation of sexual assault and attempted rape, which he was apparently acquitted of. But there are also, at 47, accusations of bullying, along with, at 48, apparently an alleged policy of not allowing female workers to be alone with Alex Salmond, which is actually something I covered in a video when I talked about this. 49 and 50 also involve the Alex Salmond inquiry, but this time involving Sturgeon and her husband. She has been accused of failing to cooperate with the Salmond inquiry, and he has been accused of practically doing the same by obstructing the same said inquiry. And that one there actually brings us to the end of the first list, so let's get on to the second list and try and go for it quickly, because this one's already taken me a bit longer than I thought I would. It's not really my fault, the SNP are just a bunch of dirty lowlifes always up to some sick shit, it would seem. So here we come to the SNP's Hall of Shame Part 2. It reads, the SNP rival even the Lib Dems for scandals. I have yet to come across anyone shooting a dog, but I sometimes have the impression that every SNP politician has been married to every other SNP politician and has had affairs with them too. It gets complicated too because every marriage appears to be a front, like SNP voters with a banner for Labour for Indy, but it's not always clear what the front is hiding. Perhaps nothing, perhaps it's because the SNP doesn't like unions, but prefers divorce. They are very good at divorce. No, they are not. They are very good at trying to get out of something and then trying to jump straight back into it and become the vassal state. It continues, once more, I would like to thank those who have helped on Twitter. The rest I discovered myself. It's remarkably simple. You type in the name of an SNP MP, MSP, plus the word scandal, and who knows, there may even be a third instalment, which I will keep an eye on. Here we have 56, SNP Glasgow Council leader accused of nepotism after husband's company allowed to rent property for £1 a year, which I would bet is not just something the SNP council leaders do. I expect that is countrywide with all political parties. Number 60, SNP MP Alan Smith called for black and disabled representatives to be removed from the SNP's ruling body because they hindered the push for independence, which is rather fucking laughable when you consider the SNP want mass open immigration with half the world, showing to me they flip-flop more than the political hooker Chuka Ramuna, who you might remember flip-flopped between 4 or 5 different parties in the space of about 3 months last year. Number 63, Nicola Sturgeon gave a character reference to a convicted fraudster Abdul Raf, which really doesn't surprise me. I expect many politicians know a fair few of them. And you know what, I'm sick of going through these, there's just loads and loads of them. You should really go and check it out for yourself. I've gone over some of the juicy ones, but there are still a fair few juicy ones in there that I will leave for you guys to find. Now I'd like to say well done to Effie Deans for actually taking the time to put all this together. I hope to see much more, especially on some of the English parties. I'm sure they will be a right hoot, looking at some of the depraved shit that these scumbags get up to.
There is a pattern consistent throughout history of oppressed people turning on the oppressors, slaves against their owners, the peasantry against the feudal barons, colonies, Mr. Verhofstadt, against their empires, and that is why Britain is leaving. And it doesn't matter which language you use, we are going, and we are glad to be going. We're off.